When you think of your big challenges now, what is the big challenge and what do you want from the transatlantic community in terms of support or help with this? Are you as pessimistic as maybe I sound when you think about transatlantic cooperation right now?
I will start with this statement that I'm not pessimistic, I'm always optimistic. And that's a way how to tackle all the problems we face. And there are a lot of topics we can discuss, we can also analyze, but I think the most important is a confidence building. And many people ask a lot of questions in any audiences about how Latvia is thriving through the difficult economic times and how decisions are made and what will be possible predictive factors in the future. I would say there are three very important things. The building up the self-confidence, that is Latvian homework. Building confidence of decision-making, which is also a Latvian home task. But we also need the confidence that security has not changed since that time, when this crisis started, and also when the administration changed in the United States. And that's what we really need from the new administration from the United States, that we really foster the transatlantic cooperation, both military and economic. And being a part of the eastern border of transatlantic alliance, we really have to be treated as a borderline. That means that we look at the whole region. They are not south, east, or let's say eastern or western part. It's a transatlantic area. And we have to focus that on a transatlantic area. And many decisions are made on consensus basis. Then we have to work on how to create this consensus. We should not go away and have misperception that something can be handled in a bilateral way or can something be handled in a regional way. But all three levels, that's a bilateral relations, that's the relations between the European Union and the United States, and the relations between the NATO and Russia are important things to our region. But basically, we need the confidence. How to really spread that we are self-confident that our economy are recovering, because the economic challenges are the most challenging ones in those days. And we have to look at our figures. We have to really tell the whole world what the figures are, that we are recovering. And at the same time understanding that the Baltic region is a united market, very integrated market. And the European market is also an integrated market, and the Baltic Sea region is also an integrated market, and this integration will be increased in the nearest years to come, not decreased. And we have the background of confidence in our security. We will succeed, we will be self-confident in all three aspects: military, economic, and decision-making.
Okay, thank you. I'd now like to turn to the relatively new president of Lithuania. It's so great to have you with us this year. What do you see as the big challenge, and what do you want from the United States, from the transatlantic community?
Thank you very much. I'm on optimism. Being in such a beautiful place, such generous and audience, it's very difficult to be pessimistic, even if you want to be. But I want here to say very nice words to President, ex-President of Latvia. I'm on rotation basis as lady President. I'm keeping this kind of tradition in Baltic states. And also to Madam Sandra, ex-colleague of mine in Commission and now Member of Parliament. So it's nice to see some faces which I knew before. Now, on your question, and more seriously, after making some relaxation, usually I'm attacking and saying something not so pleasant. Really, it's about security and about new challenges in a globalized world. We're globalizing, challenges are globalizing, and they're changing. Today, we're talking about threats, new one, and they are more difficult, more refined, and not so easy to be defined as it was before. It's not about only security and defense on land. It's about cyber security, it's about energy, it's about environment, it's about a lot of things which we are facing today. From Euro-Atlantic or Transatlantic organization, at least where we tried and wanted to join 5 years ago, we were waiting Article 5 to be applied to us in full scale. After 5 years, we can say we do not have Baltic states contingency defense plans. Why? Poland has, some other countries has, we not. And that surprises us in this new environment where we are and we became so-called the bordering region, all three, with third countries outside the NATO. We still do not have contingency plans. With new threats, with new globalized challenges we all face, to think that we can go without phasing, without reacting to these new threats and challenges, just talking only about future reforms of NATO. Yes, NATO needs to be reformed, as any institution, especially international one. Times are changing, life is changing, organizations supposed to change. Nothing can be stable or constant. With life, we need to move together with NATO in discussions, in changing the organization. But that not means that security, which we are still waiting to be fully implemented in our region, can be ignored. And at least from my country, and we talk with presidents, we will be very much united in attitude that Baltic region needs to be protected on the same level, with the same seriousness as any country of NATO alliance. Today, Baltic states, Lithuania, are investing, not only waiting for security, but are investing into security. We already are providers of security with our mission in Afghanistan. We are fulfilling all our obligations which we are promised to be as members of providing security. The same we wait from the all alliance to respectfully return. So why, with all nice introduction, I said I will be a little bit serious one.
Thank you. President Ilves, what do you want from the United States? No, don't answer that. What's the big challenge facing Estonia, and what do you want from the Trans-Atlantic community?
I know that I'm not actually going to talk about Estonia. I mean, I was quite literal-minded and being typically Estonian, and I said, okay, look at what is the region. 2 weeks ago, about 2 weeks ago, one of the largest cases of insider trading in the United States, the U.S. District Attorney charged one of the richest men in the United States for this crime. Not new. I mean, this is the latest case of something really bad happening with some really rich guy doing something really bad. Well, one of the richest men was Rajaratnam, born in Colombo, Sri Lanka. This case should be a wake-up call for Wall Street, said Preet Bharara, district attorney for the Southern District of New York, born in Punjab, India. This is a different America from the America that grew up, or that I grew up in, and that had Captive Nations Week, and where the foreign policy elite comprised of the geniuses of U.S. foreign policy, comprised of refugees from Nazi Germany and refugees from communist oppression. Henry Kissinger, Zbigniew Brzezinski. So you had a foreign policy lead in the United States that was completely tuned into the subtlest nuances of what it was that we East Europeans were about. Well, Henry Kissinger and Zbigniew Brzezinski are now in their 80s. And who was the most well-known foreign policy commentator in the United States? Fareed Zakaria. Not someone from Eastern Europe, not a refugee from Nazi Germany, not a refugee from communist oppression. The world has changed. America has changed demographically, but much more importantly in terms of the issues it faces. And from an American point of view, to use the language that Ron uses and the State Department uses and the Republicans use just as much as Ron, we fixed that one. Eastern Europe is fixed. The to-do list has been checked off. Wall fallen, wall torn down, check. Warsaw Pact dismantled, check. Countries out of the Soviet orbit, check. Democratic, check. Market economies, check. And finally, icing on the cake, in NATO, check. In the EU, check. It's all done. We are not a problem anymore. This, especially if you take an American problem-solving approach, this is a 100% success story. Where the world was in 1989 August, and compare it to 2009 October. I'm saying before the Hungarians decided to
Open up the gates.
Open up the barbed wire. Things have changed so dramatically. The problem, from the perspective of the Pentagon, from the perspective of Foggy Bottom, is that this is no longer a problem. It took 20 years. It is a fundamental, miraculous transformation. No different, actually, from the plan in the plan of the Marshall Plan, followed by NATO. That was another long-term project. It worked. So, in other words, the United States is no longer sensitive to the issues of the Central and East Europeans. It will make huge mistakes in pulling missiles out of, pulling out of the missile program on the day the Soviets invaded Poland, not because it's sold out to the Russians, but because it considers the region fixed, grown up, and there are no more neurotic people, desk officers, worrying about what everyone will think about it, because it's been solved. We are no longer Eastern Europe. We're just Europe over there. So, and especially if you're a country facing Iran, China, terrorism, we're fixed. We're done. The world has changed. The time between the fall of the wall and today is culturally as different as I'll be done in a moment, as Tommy Dorsey and Jimmy Durante singing in 1945, and the Doors, Light My Fire, and the Jefferson Airplane, Somebody to Love. 20 years. A huge cultural change. And I will end with this. I think that the Central Europeans and the Balts have to understand that we face a different challenge, a new challenge, a different America. We need to grow up. To quote Paul to the Corinthians, when I was a child, I spoke as a child, I understood as a child, I thought as a child. But when I became a man, I put away my childish things. Thank you.
President Zatlers, are you ready to put away your childish things?
I'm not sure that everything is fixed. You see, I have a couple examples from everyday life, You buy a coffee machine and it's new, brand new one, it's fixed. If you don't take care of that, if you don't pay attention to the maintenance, one day you're in trouble. And then you have to fix it again. So we are human beings living in a human societies, and it's not the paperwork when you just make the checkpoints. I think the maintenance is necessary. really, for the Baltic region and for the Eastern Europe, the maintenance is necessary. And what we are really cautious about that without maintenance, one day our coffee machine will stop giving us the coffee as we expect. And then we will be running trouble around, trying who is going to fix. And then we look for the United States, and they say, we are busy now because we are busy in some other part of the world, and the coffee machine will stop for a couple of days. And you'll get unsatisfied with this situation. The same is the other example. If you put in a seed, you're very happy, you put the fertilizers to get the plant growing, and they say, that's okay, we are happy. If you don't take care of the plant, it's a living being, you're in trouble. So what I want to say, that there should be a line that everything is fixed, and I disagree that the line when everything is fixed is behind us. Because we see the administration's, US administration's efforts to fix the Europe, or the Europeans' efforts to fix the Europe-Russian relationship or the NATO-Russian relationship. That's good, but it's a part of the process. We are not out of this process. We are here on the borderline. And we want to be involved in the decision-making, we want to be involved in the future vision-making, because we are not just a coffee machine. We are human beings, human societies living in a definite place, and we want the feeling of security. And any time, there's something happens anywhere in the world, the first question from journalists comes, do you feel secure? Do you feel any threats? Usually my answer is no, we don't feel threats, we feel secure, but we have to maintain the security all the time. And there's only one medicine to take, make the NATO and transatlantic relationship stronger.